Welcome, my friends and enemies. Glad you're here. Um, Quick update on some of the stuff going on with Sony. Uh, Sony is being Sony. They've changed quite a bit in the last few years, but needless to say, we're back to the you will own nothing and be happy phase of Sony. And it's getting really annoying for those of us who obviously collect stuff. It's not that comforting to realize that everything you enjoy or that you work towards or a collection you would like to have, or to give to your kids or whatever, maybe even save it to sell it when it becomes super retro and it's worth lots of money and you have a retirement. No, who knows? But just because you want that doesn't mean it's reasonable. Okay, I should say it is reasonable from a perspective of that should be attainable. The problem is Sony has this thing where they refuse to acknowledge what purchase or buy means. And I don't know why, but the governments of the world struggle with this word as well. I mean, I know why they do, because they use it to get around, us having stuff. But being that America's one of the few places with actual property rights, it's a little more insane when the US doesn't understand its own setup. We'll put it that way. With basically the online or the digital age, what is pushed is that, well, you can just do an end user license agreement and you don't have rights. You just don't have anything because you agreed to it, which is funny because if you make contracts, let's say, if I go to my neighbor, which I don't really have any at the moment, but if you go to your neighbor and you're like, you know what, I would like to do a contract with you. I'll trade you, I don't know, some farm produce for some of your ability to blacksmith some tools for me or something of that nature. We're just going to do a contract. And we write up the contract, we both sign the contract, and we go to court later on because there's something going on, and we need some deliberation between a judge, and the judge is like, well, this contract isn't valid. Why? Because I say it's not. It's a contract, right? So you can chuck that out of court rather simply. I'm not a lawyer, but this has happened where there is a legal document and the court just ignores it, chucks it out and says, I don't think you have any legal responsibility for this because that's why. And it's like, well, that doesn't equal to a contract. Like, a contract should be a statement where both parties agree and sign, but within a particular realm. If I'm saying I will trade you one of my thing for one of your thing, doesn't matter what the value of the thing is to the rest of the world if the value between the two of us are different. But when it comes to certain other things, it's like, oh, we wrote up a contract, but the court just deems it to be irrelevant. We're in a catch-22 now because one of two things can happen. So, one, the contract is valid and both sides are valid, or the contract is not valid and one party gets rolled over. Potentially two, depending on how it's gone through. So with that, you have this weird position where it's either something it is upheld because it's a contract, or it's not upheld and it's still a contract. If it is upheld, well, then both parties have to agree and deal with it, right? And you could argue that's what the EULA does, the EULA being the end user license agreement. And Sony and any other company that's like, oh, but you don't actually own it, but we're leasing it out to you, we're licensing it out to you. There's a weird problem with this, but at the same time, you can't EULA away your rights. Your rights are there. You can't just them away, right? Like, they can't EULA it where you agree that everything you own is now the property of Sony Corporation. You can't EULA that. It's impossible. It will never hold up in court. Now, if you said, I agree to sell my stuff to Sony Corporation, like if Sony wanted to build a distribution plant or another headquarters or something where you live and you sell them the property, do you say, well, like, I'm licensing this out to you, Sony. I'm not actually selling you the property. Even though you're paying full price, and even though you're paying what the market is, I'm only licensing it out to you. It's not actually yours. That would go over well in court. But here we are with this. And they're saying, well, it's digital. It's not physical. And it's like, well, it is digital and it is in a way physical because all code resides somewhere physical. It doesn't just exist in the ether. There is no ether. There is a cloud. There is servers. But those are all physical things. So it's a very weird position to hold to. Now, if, say, for example, you said, we made a contract and the EULA that they keep updating whenever they freaking want to just says, oh, well, now we own everything that you have because you've played our game for longer than 30 seconds. Well, you can't do that, legally speaking. I remember when they had the, what was it? Apex Legends? Is that what it's called? Whatever it's called. Apex. The game where you zip around, zip lines and all that stuff. They have something in their terms of service that essentially says that if we think that you're cheating for any reason whatsoever, we can just brick your system, whether it be a computer, whether it be a PlayStation, whether it be an Xbox, whatever it is, we could just brick your stuff and you can't even use it for regular everyday things. It's not that they cut your account off and you can't access the game anymore. No. They will brick your system. That's property damage. I mean, I don't care how much you cheat in a game. It does not equate to physical harm to property. There's no way that happens. Now, if you're licensed or if you're leasing a PlayStation that's not actually yours and the company that is leasing you that PlayStation, if they get a call from Apex says these guys are cheating using your software or using your hardware, that company could say, well, you broke our terms of service, and they can retrieve it. But that's not the situation in like pretty much every PlayStation owned ever, right? Everybody buys or borrows something from somebody they know, right? I can go to the store, buy a PlayStation 5, set her up, and start playing. It's my PlayStation 5. They can complain all they want about what I do with it or don't do with it or whatever the case may be. There's a big misunderstanding in what your ownership is. So here's the simple gist of it. You own the physical PlayStation 5 in your possession. You do not own the rights to the design, the rights to any PlayStation logos or anything like that. You don't own the trademark stuff. You don't own the copyrighted stuff. But you do own a physical of all the things in the component that you purchased from them. Now, companies have always really used this argument to say, well, it's our product. Like, we made it. It's our designs and we own the rights to all this. So clearly it's ours. So if we want to come to your house and collect it, we technically can. We won't and we don't, but we could. And it's like, but do you? Because if that was the case, you could have your car repoed for any reason whatsoever and they say, well, we're keeping all the money and sucks to be you. Okay. You buy a house. Well, we only licensed it to you, so we're just going to take it back, kick you out, and all the money you spent on it, we're keeping. This sounds like highway robbery no matter how you look at it. There's no physical manifestation in any shape or form that this makes sense. So, do you have property or not? Because by their argument, you don't have any property. You literally own nothing, which ironically would also lean to them. The people, they buy the hardware and all the parts and all the little like extremities of all the, what do you call them? The the base supplements, whether it be the type of ore they mine in a mine, all that doesn't belong to them. It's being licensed to them in some shape or form. Despite them hitting the purchase, despite them paying money for it, they don't actually own it. So can somebody just take Sony PlayStation and just, you don't have rights to it because it was licensed to you? That's how ridiculous this is. So I want to take a look at some stuff. So here's the stuff. This is courtesy of at Tom Warren on X. So we have PlayStation terms, copy for your records from PlayStation to you. This is going out on a very slow scale. I haven't received a copy of it yet through my email, which is very annoying because I wanted to use it for this video. And apparently it's really long. Now, you can still access it through their website, their terms of service, their EULA, all that stuff. But they have this whole, you recently accepted the following PlayStation terms, the terms. PlayStation terms of service, PlayStation code of conduct, end user license agreement, privacy policy. For your convenience and future reference, we have included full copies of the terms in this email. Please retain this email for your records. The terms set out important information about your rights and obligations when using PlayStation. That's a funny way of saying you don't own anything, but we're going to be nice about it. I am a benevolent god is essentially what Sony's trying to pull off. Now, this becomes more or less, oops, here we go. This is what licensing is. So 1.4, the license to you. The software is licensed to you, not sold. Now, this is one of the catch-22s I was talking about, where it's both yes and no simultaneously. You are granted a limited, non-exclusive, non-transferable, and personal license to play or use the software for your private, non-commercial use on the system or device it was intended for. Now, let's break this down. Technically, you are granted when you purchase a video game. Like if I don't have any nearby, but if I just grabbed a copy of a game and I said, haha, this is my copy. And they're like, oh, but actually you are granted a limited, non-exclusive, non-transferable, and personal license to play or use the software for your private, non-commercial use on the system or device that it was intended for. It's like, well, the whole part of the end, device it was intended for, means that if you buy a PS5 copy of No Man's Sky, it doesn't mean you have freedom to play the Nintendo Switch version or the Xbox version or the PC version. Like I have No Man's Sky on PC. I don't have legal right to just play it on anything I want without paying for it. Which ideally you buy it once, it works on all systems. That would be great. It's not how it works, but it's a cool idea. But at the same time, if I want them to succeed as a company, like if I like their product, I want to be able to buy it on multiple programs. Now, if I buy it on multiples, it would be nice that I could like link them all and lock it to my account. And I could say, I have the physical software for each of them. And I can use the same save files between all the systems. That'd be cool. It's not how it works, but it'd be cool. Now, when the software is licensed to you, not sold, they're saying this while still having a purchase or buy button. That's not a true purchase. That's not a true buy. They're trying to alter the term for purchase and buy in order for them to have legal ground to stand on and say, oh, well, we say in the EULA that pretty much nobody reads normally. It's just not a thing we do because it's over 50 pages for all this stuff. Like those 4 categories I showed at the beginning of this. That's 50 pages. Nobody reads 50 pages. And what do? You buy the PlayStation 5, you find out this, and it's like, what are you going to just send it back? Well, sure, you could do that, but that's unreasonable considering that you wanted to play a game. So it's a weird thing. But also, when they get to things like the physical hardware, you buy a PS5. Well, they're like, well, you can only do what we want you to do with it. It's like, oh, wait, but what if I want to customize it to adapt this? And this is a problem Nintendo's had recently, where I want the game I like the most, whether it be Skyrim or Pokemon or whatever. And I'm like, I have this mod to make my home screen Pokemon or Skyrim or whatever it is, just to have cool little customization to my system that I purchased, that I'm the only one who plays. And they're like, no, you're cheating. We're going to block you and ban you and brick your system, because they don't like what you're doing with their stuff. It's like going to a paint guy and saying, I need you to make me some paint. Here's the colors I want. Okay, here's the paint. And they give you the paint. Like, but remember, you can only paint what we want you to paint. You can't paint outside of what we want you to paint. It's in the EULA. It's in the terms of service. And if you do, we're going to show up and we're going to take the paint back. We're going to paint it off, pull it off of your walls, and you're going to have to just deal with it. It's like, that's just ridiculous. But it's in the EULA. It's in the terms of service. It's just nonsensical. But that's what they want you to do. It's like, well, what if I want to mod my system to where nobody can hack me? Well, no, because then we can't hack you. And we can't, let all your information out to all the world like we already do every time we get hacked. It's ridiculous. But the idea that a license is something that you purchase. Let's say they're right. Let's say you do purchase a license. Well, you purchase a license for a specific game. I do have some Switch ones in front of me, I just realized. So let's say, here, ironically. So right here. Oop, it froze. I don't know why it froze. But right here, I have a copy, which you can't really see. Let me fix that for you. So I have a copy of Skyrim for Nintendo Switch. It's one of the first Switch games I ever bought. And I play the snot out of this game, right? But I own that specific copy. I don't own every copy of Skyrim. There's a difference. It's an instance license. I own the license in this instance, not all instances. I don't own Bethesda. I don't own all that extra nonsense. And for some reason, this is a terribly difficult concept for companies to understand, that they can't get around this. So if I own this individual cartridge, it's like I purchased it like I would purchase, a chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. I'm not licensing it. I own it. Now, the ingredients, the special way they make their chicken sandwich, I don't own. But I own that sandwich. I paid them for that sandwich. It'd be kind of weird for them to say, we know you ate that sandwich, but we're going to have to repo it. And it's like, well, it's in the poop line, so good luck getting it out of my sewage system. Have a nice day. Like, that's not a reasonable expectation from anything. But they try to use corporate gobbledygook in order to try to make this a thing. It's not a thing. So they're trying to say, we sell this license to you, but it's not sold. It's licensed. So they're saying, it's not sold to you, it's licensed. Nowhere in their actual system does it say licensed, rent. I was trying to look up how much it would cost for something, say, if I went to a Blockbuster, like in the 90s, and I said, hey, if I want to rent a game, how much would it cost? I don't remember how much rentals cost back in the day, but like if you had like Nintendo 64 games or something, they could be anywhere up to like $110, but everything's on the cartridge. You owned it and all that jazz. But you could pay like $10 to have it for the weekend, right? And the point is that the rental is supposed to be a percentage of the total value and the total cost. So if the total cost is saying it's $110, you're paying $10. That basically means after 10 or so, 11 payments, you basically paid off the game. So you might as well just buy the game or rent it, because you're going to beat it and never play it again. it depends on how much fun you have with it and all that stuff. But you could also trial run it and say, I don't want to pay $110 for it, but I'll pay $10 for it to play it. And if I like it, I might dish it out. Either way, the company who's selling the game, they're getting the money that they're getting from the company that's renting it, and the guys who rent it out are getting their money back. Because odds are 11 people will buy that game, or rent that game, play it for a weekend, and then bring it back, and they've paid that game off. It's paid off. And so if you do this with all the games and all the things that are popular and whatnot, boom, 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 eventually all those games are paid off, and it's just pure profit for those kind of companies. But they don't do that for digital. You have a license. Now, if I said, okay, I'm going to be Sony, I'm going to go out, I'm going to offer this product, I'm going to license it out to you. It's a rental, but I'm going to charge you full price. You would think that was unforgivably ridiculous. That would be the dumbest thing on the planet, to expect someone like yourself to pay me, Sony, full price for something you get for a weekend, right? That's crazy. That's ridiculous. Why would you do that? Now, we have the digital only bros, and if you are one, I apologize, but I'm not really that sorry, because you did this to yourself in terms of showing your level of intelligence. It's okay to enjoy digital games. It's okay to play digital games to some extent. Obviously, like, you can enjoy them without having to crap all over physical gamers. Like, physical bros versus digital bros. Physical bros have more leg to stand on because they own something, and digital bros don't own their thing. But it's like the digital bros take it and say, well, we don't own our thing, so we don't think you should own your thing. And we're going to make you miserable like us and make you not own anything by supporting the digital only. That's a really retarded take. I'm sorry, there's no way around it. There's literally no excuse to be against physical gaming. Period. There's none. It doesn't exist. You cannot argue it. Every logical argumentation will always come out. Physical rights will always supersede, in terms of logical superiority and moral superiority, digital. Because, especially in this situation, physical owned, digital not owned. So if I said, hey, I'm Sony, we're just going to remove this game from the store. And I know you paid $80 for it, but it's gone. I like playing that game. Well, too bad. It's gone. Bye-bye. You're like, well, that will never happen. That never happens. They can do that. And they don't even need to be nice about it. They don't have to. They could just say, oh, yes, we see everybody bought GTA 6, but we're going to renege it. Everybody's already bought it. Maybe in 4 months we'll put it back out and you have to pay full price for it. But you know what? We're just going to remove it. Guess what? You don't have GTA 6 now. Congratulations, you played yourself. They don't have to be nice. They're not benevolent. They're not even intelligent. They're not good business people, because they don't understand repeat business. When you piss off any section of your consumer base, that's just terrible business in general. Now, I should say, caveat, when you tick them off or piss them off from the perspective of they're not, it's not like you're having a political ideology or anything like that. We're just saying, like, you just one day decide to say, well, screw you. You only take up 20% of our customers. Screw you, because we don't like what you like. And then they just nix 20% of their business out. Well, that's 20% of business. It sounds like a small number. That's actually a pretty large number. And keep in mind, the people who are the 20% typically buy more often than the people who are digitals. Because, like, if you're, like, say, a Madden bro, you buy Madden once every couple of years because, you know, it's a Madden every year or whatever. You're buying one game because that's the only game you ever play. You're not a big customer. You're just a normal person. You spend $80 on Sony a year. Congratulations. You don't play games very often. And even if you played every single day, let's say you played Madden or FC 26 or whatever sport you play, that's the only game you play, and you play it 365 times a year, it's every single day, you're still only worth $80 to Sony. Congratulations. Now, let's say you go to the digital or the physical onlyest instead of digital. If I buy 30 games in 2 years, that's more than 2 games. So I'm physically purchasing more games and I physically have paid more money for those games. But now I'm just like, well, I don't have to buy from PlayStation. I can buy from a third party. I can buy from my local game store and not buy them new. And I'm better off for it. I'll get it cheaper. And I'm not directly paying Sony. One person paid Sony and 5 people have passed that game around to play it, enjoy it, and put it back in the system so other people can pick it up. And the amount that Sony gets remains the one. They don't get a cut every time it's resold. They don't get a cut. That's the beauty of physical, but also you don't have to collect it if you don't want to, but collectors like myself will do so if we like it anyway. I prefer to get the limited collector's editions with like soundtracks and maybe like a diorama or a figurine or something with it. That's what I like. Doesn't happen all the often because for whatever reason they're not doing that as often, even though it's more money for them. It doesn't make logical sense to me why they don't do this, especially for games like Ocarina of Time, Star Fox. They're not pulling any of those out. They're just like, it's just a standard game. It's like, but why? Why not give it? Even Ocarina of Time, the original, had a special edition. Now it's really expensive, unfortunately, but I'd love to own it someday. But point being, there's no reason for digital bros to be against physical bros having physical, because now you have physical and digital. That's more people to play your game, which means there's more people for you to interact with, and your game stays alive. The guys who develop that game look at it and say, wow, lots of people are playing our game. They're really excited. Let's make another one and make more money off of them. And then boom, they make another game. You and the physical bros both buy it. Boom. Everything's booming. The gamers are happy. The developers are happy. The system is happy. That's how it's supposed to run. But when you're like, no, let's cut 20% out. Well, now they're seeing 20% of their normal profits as a developer are cut. Like that. Also, when you have 20%, let's say it's 30, 40%, let's say it's 10%. Doesn't really matter what the percentage is. If that percentage is unhappy with the situation, and let's say a developer's like, hey, we're releasing a game on PlayStation 5, and they put out a trailer, and instantaneously the comments are just no disc, no buy, no disc, no buy, no disc, no buy, no disc, no buy, which is what's currently happening, but it's going to go no disc, no buy. Those guys, those developers are upset because nobody cares about their game. They care about the bad PR Sony's giving. Now, does Sony care? No. What would be nice is if those developers said, you know what? We're not going to release on this. We're only going to release on Xbox, Nintendo, or PC, or just that side of things, and just cut PlayStation out completely. Just remove Sony from the equation. If developers did that, their sales would probably go up because you could still get it digitally and you can get it physically on all the other locations. Except physically for PC is a little difficult because nobody really makes PC anymore except for the rare occasions like Baldur's Gate 3 or something like that. Do I want them to make more PC physical games? Absolutely. I think it should make a comeback. It doesn't have to make a comeback in like the tens of thousands, but it could make a comeback in the thousands. There's 1,000 players on this planet that would buy a single game. You could easily make that happen. But again, digital game or physical games, they sell for full price. Digital games sell for full price, but you don't get full price anything. You don't get a box to throw up on your back. You don't get a poster. You're not getting a soundtrack. Like even on Steam, you typically have to buy the soundtrack separately unless there's like a deluxe edition that comes in. And you're still paying full price for that. Like all the things. Their art book, it's a digital art book. It's digital. They can literally have one picture and copy it infinite times. And they're charging for every single infinite time. Now, do I think they're entitled to that? Sure, to some reasonable extent. If it was a physical book, absolutely, because you have to pay money to print every single one of those out. Get your bag. I totally understand. But if it's digital, it's like I could literally take the art book, download the whole thing as a PDF, and give it to all my friends for free. It doesn't cost them any money. I've already paid them for that instance of it. Boom, the instance is everywhere else. It doesn't matter. There's no purpose to it. That's how stupid it is. This license is only effective from the indicated software release date, early access date, or beta release date. In other words, it only starts at a particular point. which to some extent makes sense, because if a game's not out, you shouldn't have it. Duh. Does that mean you can't have it? Not necessarily, but I'm not going to go there. Any rights in the software that we do not say are granted to you in the license are reserved, including all intellectual property in the software. No one is arguing they own the intellectual property when they buy a game. I do not own the intellectual property of Bethesda or Skyrim because I buy Nintendo Switch Skyrim. That's not how that works. Nobody's arguing for that. But we are arguing that we purchased an instance of that intellectual property, because when it comes back down to it, this is mine. It's not Nintendo's. I got it from Nintendo, but it's not Nintendo's. It's mine. Nintendo has no rights to come to my house and demand it back. None. Zero. Zilch. Not a thing. Because I paid them money. They accepted payment in return for my purchase. Not a license. Or I should say, not a license in the way Sony's calling a license. Now, Nintendo could believe that it's the same kind of license. Xbox could believe it. EA, Ubisoft, they could all believe it. But if they're accepting money, like this whole EULA in terms of service only works if they accept money. And if they're accepting money, guess what? There's a reverse EULA for you. There's a reverse terms of service. You accepted the money, so you're releasing not a percentage, but like you're releasing an instance, a personalized instance, which they've already said you are granted a limited, non-exclusive, non-transferable and personal license to play or use the software for your private, non-commercial use on a system or device it was intended for. That makes sense for digital. It does not make sense for physical, which is why they're trying to get rid of physical, because then everybody has to buy it. They can't use a third-party market. Sony's trying to be we're the big ones in the industry. We got rid of our physical industry. That's what they're trying to do, because they think it'll make them more money. But the problem is, I don't think it will, technically speaking, because we have people who are like, yeah, I bought every PlayStation thing since PlayStation was a thing, including the PS Vita, PSP, PSP Extras, whatever they're called. All of that stuff. All of it. We bought all of it. We're not buying nothing no more. Bye, Sony. Like, you just lost all of that income. That's just one person who could buy all of that. And do you know how many Sony bros there are? There's a ton of Sony bros. Do you know what percentage of them are walking away? If 5% walk away, that's a chunk of change, because they're willing to buy everything. Because of all the Sony players, let's say they have 30 million players. Let's say they have 50 million players. If 5% of the actual Sony bros, which is not 50 million. 50 million is people who buy stuff, not the Sony bros. That means out of the 50 million, 10 to 15, 20 million of those might never buy anything again, or they'll buy one thing a year. They're not buying on a consistent basis. Then you have like another 20 million that buy things consistently. But then you have like that 10, 15 million right there on the edge that are hardcore Sony bros. They're buying everything. And if 5% of that stops buying stuff, that's a chunk of change. Because you have to consider all like the schedules of people buying things, where they're getting it from, yada, yada, yada. You're expecting everyone to just keep paying money, which, to be fair, there are a lot of dumb people that will just keep paying money because they're dumb. Like, their brains don't operate. The hamster died. It's no longer spinning in their brain. They're running off of the Reddit brain, which is like 10% of their brain is all the brain they have. They don't have the rest of it. It's hollow inside. They're going to keep buying stuff. And they don't care. They don't even care if you insult them. You know why? Because they're brain dead. There's nothing at home. It's all just cobwebs and echoes of the knocks on the door. There's nothing there. There's nobody home. They're dead weight, mentally speaking. They're called normies for a reason. They're not fans. They're not going to sell their souls to the entire system. They'll just decide one day, you know what? I don't want to play PlayStation anymore. And they'll sell their system and walk another direction. Because they're not locked in. But then you have people who are locked in, who are like, I'm selling my system because I disagree with this, because I have a brain, because I have principles, because I demand that my property stay my property. It's literally this simple. Like, I don't know how to make it any simpler for anybody. This applies to you and you're offended. Well, I'm sorry. It still applies. Like, you might not think that way of yourself, but everyone around you thinks that way about yourself. I would rather everyone look around and say, oh, and he's stupid. He doesn't play his PlayStation because somebody said to turn it off for a week or indefinitely. Okay, and that just means I have principles. I'm sorry. That's not a diss. That's not an insult. Like, I have an Xbox. I have a Nintendo. I have a PC. I have all the other ways I can go around and play games. But if somebody says, you know what, I don't want my PS5 anymore, they can literally go buy any other system. At this point, sell a PlayStation 5, you can buy 2 Nintendo Switch 2s if you wanted to. It's that stupid how expensive things are. You could buy an Xbox Series X, have discs, put them in. You could sell your PlayStation collection and buy everything you want on Xbox if you want to. Xbox at least seems to look like, at their backwards compatibility or their digital rights system that they're looking to implement, which I haven't gone over yet, but at least there's something there. You could still have your physical games and still have digital, like, CD keys for them, just like old PC games used to have. So I'm not necessarily against Project Helix's potential digitization library. That's not a problem I have. It will possibly kill the third party, not necessarily, because not everybody is going to do that, but there'll only be a system for game shops to, like, hook it up and say, is this something I can play and not have locked to my account? And if it's not locked to an account, you can resell it. And if it is locked to an account, then you have to keep it. That's just how PC games were, literally from the inception of PC games. You had a disc and had a CD key, boom, it's locked to you. Now, if you uninstall it and you go put it on somebody else's disc or whatever, and they have the same CD key as you, and you, like, try to play together, it won't let you play together because it recognizes both the CD keys. It's the exact same one. This has happened forever. Decades upon decades. This isn't new. Sony can't do that. So they're trying to make this argument that, you know, any rights in the software that we do not say are granted to you in the license are reserved, including all intellectual property. Nobody has a problem with that. We don't care. We want property rights. Can you go to your local representatives of your state and say, hey, I demand that my property be protected by the government? Because that's what it's supposed to be. That's why the government exists, is to prevent people from just being able to walk into your house, grab your stuff, and leave with it. It's theft. So if you buy something, they can't say, well, I didn't really steal from them because I just revoked their license via the EULA and terms of services just because I can, because I wanted to. It's my stuff. I can leave with it. Well, I guess they can do that because they own the intellectual property rights. No, that's not how that works. So talk to your representatives and say, hey, do I have any value? Because this is going to jack with the economy, and I don't support this. I don't want this to be how this happens for me or for anybody. Do I own this or not? Do I own that or not? Do I own anything or not? If you're going to say or not, get the frick out of office, because I'm not voting for you next time. That should be the simplest possible way you could look at this. But for some reason, this is a difficult concept. But reach out, talk to them and say, you know what? I demand to be protected, because that's literally your one job as government. Your job is to protect me. That's one job you have that you can't get out of. So what are you going to do? You're going to keep playing Sony? You can. Nothing will change, except it'll make just way worse. But you are totally within your rights to choose to continue playing digital. You are in your rights to play physical. You are in rights to do whatever it is you want in that regard. But you won't have rights to the games. And you can argue till you're blue in the face that, oh, well, my games won't disappear. The only two systems that I'm aware of that you have digital rights is Steam and GOG, which is Good Old Games. And both of those are PC based. Those are the only two. None others that I'm aware of allow that. Steam, if something ever happens to Steam, all the games are instantaneously released DRM free, which means you can just download them and play them, and boom, you're done. That's it. You just put them on discs and have the ability to play them to your heart's content indefinitely until, you lose the information. But you can always get that back from other means. GOG, it's bought out of the gate DRM free. You can just literally just buy it, boop, it's on disc. You can go right now to GOG, buy Cyberpunk 2077, you own it permanently. Witcher 3, boom, own it permanently. Any of the old classical games, you own it, boom, permanently. Like, it's crazy. They have a whole Star Wars catalog. You can own it. You don't have to worry about like, well, it's not intellectual property. No, you own it. So go get it. That's how you stay digital and protect yourself. But you can't be like, oh, well, I'm just going to change my EULA, so now you don't own anything, and I get to keep your money. Good luck. Like, that's... what a world we live in. But for my part, I'm already a hardcore PC person. I stick with Steam and GOG for the most part. I have a lot of Nintendo stuff because I have physical. But if I can't get it physical, I'm less likely to get it. And if it's only available in some aspects in physical form or in digital form on explicit certain places, I might buy it if it's an affordable price, and I will play the snot out of it. But if somebody's going to say, well, you don't actually own it and we're going to rescind it whenever we feel like it, I don't have any reason to support it. I get it other ways. But be as it may, still your choice. But hopefully you value your own money, and hopefully you value your time, energy, and everything, because you don't want to be that guy who, like when Fallout 76 had its whole duplication error, that you put in real hours, tons of time of your life, but they thought you were cheating even though you weren't, and they just wipe your entire thing. You lose everything because you grinded. You went out and got everything legitimately. They just felt like you didn't. Boom. Nuked it. Thousands of hours out the window. It's gone. Well, you can say it didn't happen. It still happened. So, but we'll leave it there, and hopefully you'll make a decision that you'll stand by, but there's no reason not to support physical bros. There's no real reason to support digital bros in reality, but people still do. Like, physical bros want digital bros to be able to play the game so they have somebody to play with. But they don't need digital bros. Digital bros need physical bros because that's the part that keeps balance. So let's say, for example, digital goes down. Somebody's got a physical copy. Well, you can still play with physical. You won't be able to if it's just digital. But leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Like, dislike, whatever you'd like to do. Subscribe, all that fun jazz. Check the description for other support you can give to other YouTubers. If you care about other YouTubers, I don't know. You probably already have them all subscribed in some shape or form. So thanks everybody for your time. I greatly appreciate it. And walk in the light, my friends.